Hey everyone, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and I'm back with another real estate video. Today I'm going to talk about LLCs, corporate structures, and things of that nature. I'm sitting in my office here at Blue Steel Real Estate, which is actually an S Corp, and we rent from myself, who owns the building with a partner, and that's an LLC. So I'm going to talk about some of the stuff I do and why I've done that. However, I am not an accountant, I am not an attorney. This is not legal advice. Just discussing some of the things I do. If you want specific advice, please talk to your accountant. Please talk to your attorney, especially since a lot of this stuff is state specific, and where I'm at in Colorado may not be the same as wherever you're at. But this might give you some insight on protecting yourself, liability, and some tax stuff, or it may not. We'll see. I personally do not like dealing with taxes, things of that nature, so I leave it to the professionals to help me out on that side of it and just kind of do what they say. So I own 20 rentals right now. I've been buying some and selling some, and on all of my rental properties, I have an LLC. I have a separate LLC, I have a separate bank account, and we treat them as their own business. Now, I started doing this from the very beginning when I bought my first rental property in 2010, and I did that just based on what attorneys I talked to said, accountants said, and the fact it is really, really, really easy to get an LLC in Colorado. I think it's $50 for a filing fee and $5 every year to keep it going. So it's incredibly cheap here. If you're in another state, the chances are you're gonna be paying more than that. It might be $50 a year, $200 a year. It can be much more expensive, and that's something you have to consider. What I do is not always the best thing to do for everyone else. There's also other ways to protect yourself, which we'll talk about as well, and which I do too. Now, with my flipping business, we flip 20 to 30 houses a year. I think we're going to do 24 flips this year. We did 26 in 2018, 26 in 2017. All of those houses we buy under one corporation, an S Corp. Why we did that? I don't know for sure. That's what my accountant and lawyers told me to do. So that's how we do it for tax purposes, because we hire people, we have employees, things of that nature. I think that's why we have an actual corporation and not an LLC. Now, with corporations, LLCs, and real estate, you have some pretty cool tax advantages with the new tax rules that were implemented a year or two ago. You get even more advantages. You get more deductions, more things of that nature. So it is an advantage to have a corporation. Again, I leave that to my accountants to figure out how much of an advantage it is, how much it saves you, and they're very smart and are specialists. I specialize in real estate, they specialize in taxes. Now, when you have an LLC, it does not guarantee nothing can go wrong, you're free from liability. There's all kinds of stories out there of people who had LLCs, they still got sued, they're still personally responsible. So you can do as much as you can to protect yourself, but really, if you're negligent, if you're doing things you shouldn't be doing, and someone gets hurt, there's a good chance you're still going to get in trouble and lose money, and LLC might not protect you. Now, if it's an accident, it's not your fault, it still might not protect you, but it gives you a better chance of protection. Again, that's where you talk to your lawyers. Hey, is it worth doing it? Is it not worth doing it? I remember the first lawyer I talked to, before I had any rental properties, I sat down with him. He's someone my dad referred me to. Said, hey, I want to set up an LLC because I'm buying my first rental property. And the lawyer looked at me and said, you don't need an LLC. You don't have enough assets to need it. Don't worry about it. It's the first time I talked to this lawyer. He had no idea who I was, how much money I had. It's true, I didn't have that many assets back then, but it blew my mind that he would make all those judgments about me based on, I guess, how young I was, what I looked like. So my point is, talk to a few lawyers too, or attorneys, or accountants to get a few opinions. So if you have an opinion from one and you're not sure about it, it doesn't hurt to talk to more people. A lot of times they're free consultations. They won't charge you anything. So don't always be set on one attorney and what they say. You can get different advice from lots of different people, which can make it tricky, but in the long run, make things safe, try and do the right thing. It'll probably help you out more than having an LLC or the right corporate structure. So I mentioned we do separate bank accounts, and that is something my attorney suggested as well, just because if you have 20 different LLCs in one bank account and something happens, you get sued, the courts could say, hey, you have one bank account for these 20 businesses. It's pretty obvious to us it's the same business. It's not really 20 different businesses. It's the same business. So we're going to lump all of these properties in together. Maybe we'll even lump your personal assets into that lawsuit, and we'll go after everything. So again, it doesn't guarantee anything, but if you have separate bank accounts, it's better. If something happens, you can say, hey, these are separate businesses. We keep separate accounting books. They're their own entity. So that's why we do that. Some people will do 3 properties per LLC, 5 properties per LLC. I do each one because it's so easy and cheap. But if you do 3 rentals per one LLC, when you get sued, then all those properties are clumped together. You might lose more money if something happens. But again, no guarantee that they can't go after other stuff as well, even with the LLC, even with the separate bank accounts and everything else done correctly. Now, something else I want to talk about, how did I get these LLCs set up? Because yes, there's the fees for Colorado, but what about the fees to draft the documents, create the LLC? Isn't that expensive? And it can be. So what I did is I had an attorney draw up the first one I did, and from that point forward, I pretty much copied it and submitted it myself. Again, not giving legal advice, not saying anyone should do that. That's just simply what I did. Saves us a ton of money. The forms aren't terribly difficult to figure out. And there's also all kinds of online services that can do this for you as well. Law Depot, LegalZoom, all kinds of places have forms, actual legal documents you can use on your own to create the documents you use. We use Law Depot a lot, especially for leases. They have some amazing leases on there. All kinds of documents, hundreds of documents that are state specific to where you are. So we use them all the time. I'm an affiliate with them too, so I can provide you guys a link below. And if you sign up with that link, I might get a little bit of money back from it for being an affiliate, full disclosure, or you can just go to their website. But they've been really good for us. We personally use them. Or LegalZoom. We haven't used that much either, but I've heard they're decent as well. But those are some options to actually set up the documents, get them done right. On that note, some of the stuff we did turned out not to have everything we needed. When I sold the property, the title company came to us and said, hey, we're missing something or other. Can we create one? So we got it created, got it done right. But it doesn't hurt to make sure you have someone at least look over the first stuff you do and make sure you're doing it all right for your state. So let's say you decided not to do an LLC on your properties. Are you just asking for someone to come sue you and take all your money? Now, it does open you up to more liability from what I've heard. However, even with that LLC, like we said, you could still be liable for a lot of damages, and they could come after you personally too. It doesn't guarantee you're safe from everything. But there's types of insurance that can help you out as well. So on our properties, we have, insurance for landlords. So that covers the structure of the property, liability, and it even covers damages if tenants destroy the property. So we've had a couple properties that got damaged, and because of the insurance we had, they paid out like $12,000 on one property for the damage they did, some of the eviction costs, some of the vacancy costs. So if you have an eviction and you have damage, you might even have that insurance and not know it. So talk to your insurance agent, see what kind of insurance you have if it covers that. Especially if you have damage or anything, you might be able to get a payout and a claim, which can really make a bad situation much better. But also there's something called, general liability insurance, umbrella coverage. So we have both of those as well. Because we're doing a lot of fix and flips, we have our own employees, contractors as well. We have a general liability policy so that if we cause damage, somebody gets hurt, we have insurance that should help cover that. If it becomes serious, a big deal, that will help with those costs, lawyers' fees, medical fees, all of that stuff. Again, my insurance agents help a lot with this and decide exactly what policies to do and what to get. So I'm not going to give you specifics on that, but just talk to your insurance agent. And then our general umbrella policy kind of covers everything we have going on, our rentals, flips. It's just another source of insurance if someone gets hurt, someone sues us. That kicks in, and it's very affordable as well to have that general umbrella policy. Now, a quick story. My sister was a property manager. She still manages her own properties, but no one else's right now. And it was a while ago, probably 20 years ago. She was doing an eviction. There were other owners of the property who had hired her. I was actually at this eviction. It was kind of crazy because I was helping out, as in very young, needed some money. And during the eviction, the people were there. The police were there. It was not a pretty eviction. Well, we were there working all day, got all their stuff out. So a week or two later, the people who were kicked out claimed their daughter fell in the window well. The window well glass was broken, cut her leg, wanted all these damages. And we were there. Nothing was broken. It was a very frivolous lawsuit. However, they still filed it. My sister had to go to court. The owners had to go to court. And I believe my sister ended up paying something like $20,000 to $30,000 in fees for her lawyer to defend herself. I think I even had to testify in this case, but it was thrown out. There was no proof. We don't really know where they came up with this story, but my sister still had to pay that $20,000 to $30,000 in lawyer's fees. However, she learned afterwards if she would have had an umbrella policy, it would have covered those costs. So she was a real estate agent at the time. She had the, insurance, the general O&E insurance you get as an agent. She had insurance for properties, but she didn't have that general umbrella policy. And if she would have had that, it would have helped. So that's something to look into as well. If you want to protect yourself on properties, it's good to have whether you have LLCs or not. So really, the point of this video is everybody's different. Everyone's different in what they want to protect themselves with, how they protect themselves, and each state is very different as well. Texas has something called series LLCs, where you can put multiple properties in the same LLC. I know nothing about that. People ask me that all the time. I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm not an accountant, can't help you, or an attorney. But there's a lot of things you can do, a lot of really smart people you can talk to help you make the right decision. Find a really good real estate attorney, kind of see if it's worth doing the LLCs or not. Find a really good insurance agent. Make sure you're fully protected. If something happens, talk about the landlord insurance, talk about the umbrella policies, the general liability. See what you need. These costs can add up. However, they're relatively small considering how bad things can be if somebody is seriously hurt or something really bad happens on your properties. And, if you're doing work, you're doing any kind of contracting work, property management, you should have those policies in place. Anyway, you might even be required to have those policies in place due to state laws and how things are run in your area. So I have LLCs on all of my rentals, every single one. I have my main businesses, my flipping business, my real estate brokerage in S Corps. Sorry. Again, the difference between C and S Corp, that's above my knowledge. That's an accountant question. I let them decide on that. And then for my personal house, it's in my name. There's all kinds of things you can go. There's a rabbit hole you can get really deep into with land trusts, getting LLCs in different states, having an LLC for property management that's different from your rental, all types of craziness that I don't know about. So this is just the basics on what I do. I think it's pretty decent for us to have these LLCs, these separate bank accounts, and the insurance behind it to cover everything, and that helps us quite a bit. One last thing I've heard of that I haven't run into personally, but there is that rumor that if you have houses paid off, if you don't have any loans on them, a lot of times that's public record, and you might be more susceptible to lawsuits, people looking to get hurt at your properties because they know there's no loan and you have a lot more money available to pay them off if something does happen. So that's something to consider as well. If you have paid off properties, you might need more protection, really need to talk to your attorneys and accountants to make sure everything is set up properly. All right, that's all we've got for this video for today. Hope that helps you a little bit, get some insight into what we do. Again, it's different for everybody, but that's what I've done from the advice I've gotten. It's worked out well so far. It's pretty minimal. Every year we have to file a report. Setting them up takes a little bit of time in the beginning, but it's really not that bad. But again, that's just Colorado, and it's different everywhere else. All right, thanks for watching. Hope you guys appreciate these videos. I appreciate all your support, the comments, the likes, the subscribers, all that good stuff. And if you have any questions, leave them below. I'll try to answer if I can. And of course, we'll have more videos of our flips coming up. new rental properties we're buying, and all kinds of other stuff. And check out investformore.com for lots more articles. We have an article on LLCs as well and tax advantages of rentals that we'll link to below. I'll also link to that Law Depot site if you want to check them out, and we'll be back soon.